I am thrilled to welcome Special Envoy May Marie Duwai-Sowa, appointed by the President of Sierra Leone as the country's first Special Envoy for International Relations, Trade, and Investment. Recognized as one of the 100 accomplished Black Canadian women, she has a remarkable track record as a trailblazer in various roles, including employment equity specialist and economic development advisor. As the principal consultant at SierraCan Consulting and the founder of several organizations, she's committed to promoting diversity, equity, and social change. With a strong academic background, including a bachelor's and master's degree in sociology and international development, Special Envoy Duwai-Sowa is also pursuing her PhD in public policy and administration. Her numerous accolades reflect her dedication to public service and leadership. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to the one and only Special Envoy May Marie Duwai-Sowa.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and happy Women's History Month. And I'm quite honored by your invitation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. For someone with so much, academic background and so much knowledge in politics, involvement in politics, can you tell us where did all of this stem from? Give us a little backstory to all of this. But I'm not sure you woke up and just became this. What was the driving force? What was the backstory? Can you tell us what the backstory is, please?
Absolutely. Well, quite honestly, at the most fundamental level, it's really around wanting to make a difference in the world, a positive difference, and help others in any way that I can make a difference in someone's life, in my community. And it's rooted in social justice, understanding inequities that exist in society, and having that passion to do my part to make sure we're living in a just, inclusive, and equitable society. So I've been quite aware of injustices that occur, whether within my country or in society or Canada where I live. And there's always an acute awareness of the disparities that exist between individuals in society, right? And it's not okay when you can have such extreme experiences, extreme lived experiences, whether negative or positive. So you look at it and say, what can I do? How can I improve lives? How can I make a difference? That's really where it comes from. And it comes from just being raised by my grandmother and my parents, who instilled in me that you can always help others, you can always make a difference. So when you grow up around loving, kind, generous people, your socialization really influences the person you become. Because we are what we see to a large extent. And those values were instilled in me very early on, as well as having integrity, as well as working hard, having a good work ethic, having humility. It's not about who you are, but what you can do, and how you can influence and impact others. So I look at this more as a patriotic duty. I don't see myself as a politician. I'm not a politician, but I'm more a patriot. How can I serve humanity? How can I serve my country? How can I serve Canada as well, which is now my adopted country? And everywhere I go, I think, irrespective of what country, I could find myself in any country, any community, and I will really serve. So overall, it's about serving humanity. That is what fuels my passion. That is what motivates me. And I think being African, also doing the best that you can so you don't embarrass your family, but at least the values that they've instilled in you, you do your best to make sure that you're not getting in trouble. For a better lack of word, because when you step out of line, they will make sure they put you back in check. And to be honest, I look at it, whether for my parents and now as a parent, making sure that at least I model a good example for my kids and don't do things that will also make sure that they're not thinking that, okay, what's mom doing? It's not the way that we want her to represent us, and also just to copy good examples. I'm not perfect, but I want to do my part to help.
Oh, that is so amazing because when you started talking, you talked about being aware of social justice. You talk about that acute awareness of the disparity that exists and asking yourself, what can I do? For me, that's an amazing question to ask. First of all, there was awareness, and the next thing is I see a problem and how do I fix it? Not that you can fix everything, but you can play your part. I love how you said play your part and all of that. That is so amazing. You've been recognized as one of the 100 accomplished Black Canadian women. How did you do it? I know you've talked about humility. I know you talk about not disgracing your parents, the backlash would have been worse, and all of that. But being recognized as that is for me is a huge one. What are the things other women who are saying that I don't know where to start? We're not asking everyone to be accomplished or anything, but you've done this. I know that while you were doing this, you were not expecting this. What, again, we want to say, what did you do? And how can others just start doing little things in their own community just to help humanity?
I think it's a series of incremental little things that ultimately result in these big impactful accolades. I think you look at it because some people probably set out to do great things, but I think a lot of people who know me um, will know that will say that I'm not one that just said, oh, I'm going to do all these great things. I just want to do my part. I've always been that way, but I've always been the type that wants to do something. And I do see myself sometimes as a visionary. So I will always ask myself, why not? Why not? Or what's the big deal? Why shouldn't I be able to do this? And I think that desire to question or to never limit myself is really what has resulted in maybe having this impact in some ways, because I don't look at, so most of the jobs that I've had, it's always been the first off in that particular role or that title. It's not because I sought that out, but it was just because if I think I have the skills, I'm going to apply. I think I can do it. So I don't second guess myself. I don't question myself. I just tap into my abilities or my capabilities to do something, and I let that lead me. And I don't get scared about, am I going to be able to do it? Because I think, again, when you've worked particularly addressing social justice or advancing equity and diversity and inclusion, those are always contentious issues. And there's a tendency to say, oh my God, what am I going to do? Or then also the reality is there's always probably one of you or a few of you working in the organization. So you come around, you come into it knowing that this is going to have to be a shared responsibility and there's collective ownership of this. So I'm leading this portfolio, I'm leading this initiative, but it doesn't all rely on me. So I tend to automatically look at it as a collective and tapping into community, tapping into support, not thinking I have all the answers, but really looking at collaboration, teamwork, consultation. So I never get intimidated by how big a title or how difficult a task, but I just get into it knowing that, okay, I'm sure we'll figure it out as we go. So I obviously having a plan, but not intimidated about how big something might be. So I think over time, because I've just always approached anything that I do that way, I'm able to ultimately at least make an incremental impact in a way that becomes probably a positive outcome in a lot of what I've done. And then I get intrigued by sometimes the complexity of something, or if a lot of people are nervous or scared, I think that excites me because I get bored easily. And I want to be able to be challenged. I want to be able to do different things. I want to be able to do things that maybe seem difficult for others. And I always go into any interaction or anything with an open mind. So I will use information that maybe will be helpful in helping me understand what some of the implications or complexities might be. But even if it's an individual, it doesn't matter what someone might tell me. I would like to go in with an open mind to say, let me go form my own experience. And then sometimes it might be true to what was stated, but at least now I've confirmed it. Or maybe I'll have a totally different experience because I come in really seeking good intentions and coming in with an open mind. So I think that helps as well, because then you're really going into um, make a positive impact or have a positive outcome. And really, with the accolades, again, a lot of people know me. I've organized awards for years. I love to give awards or recognize other people. It's not really about me. So even with the 100 accomplished women, it was another colleague, Dr. Daniel, was like, well, you've done so much. Like, Marie, hello. Like, I don't care what you say. I'm going to put your name in. People need to know all the great things you do. So if you know me very well, chances are every recognition I've ever had, somebody must have pushed or put my name. It's hardly going to come from me, and I will still push back because I just believe that's not the motivation, at least not for me. A lot of people will tell you I would rather stay in the background. It just so happens that a lot of what I do ends up being forefront or roles that put me in the forefront. But if you know me very well, chances are I'll probably just be in my corner doing my thing quietly in the background. But so yeah, a lot of the accolades come, I guess, as a result of doing good work, but that's never the motivation. The less my name is out there, probably the better if I had a choice about the matter. But I do appreciate an opportunity to also share, because someone told me once, they're like, especially because of this work that we do, being in DEI and being an expert in this field, a lot of people still are trying to understand how to succeed in it, or even thinking that it's a very successful career path, and also that it's difficult. But not everybody understands how to navigate it. So they told me, they said, you need to talk more about it, especially for those of you that are successful in any of these things that you've done, so people understand. Because when you're the first doing something, not everybody is going to even have a roadmap of how to follow it or how to aspire to it. So visibility helps. Talking about your career path helps, because then it at least can give others something to aspire to, or maybe they can even come and try a better course, but at least you set the foundation for them. So I am more open now to just being out there. Believe it or not, I even joined LinkedIn just last year. I've never been on LinkedIn, and everybody's like, but Marie, it's a good space. But I'm like, no, I'm really busy. I don't have time. But now I understand the value of it. And I have to sort of get out of my comfort zone to make sure that I can share myself out there more.
Yeah, but one of the things that really caught me when I met you the first time was your humility. Like, with all of this, you are so humble, you are so approachable, you are so open to discussion, you're willing to share your knowledge with other people. And I really want to say thank you for that, because not everyone give other people that opportunity. And having this conversation with you, I'm actually seeing where you're coming from, and that is amazing. Thank you for being such a shining star in our community. We truly appreciate you for that. Now, as the first special envoy for international relations, trade, and investment for Sierra Leone, how do you see your role in empowering women and ensuring their representation on international platforms? Women really are shy. women doubt themselves. And I liked what you said about not second guessing yourself. Now, just tell us how do you see your role in empowering women and ensuring their representation on international platforms?
So really, with this role, this is almost an extension of what I've done. I think having Illuminescence magazine and doing the awards, which was focused on always celebrating and recognizing women, empowering women, and using it as a community to share. Um, I think with this role, it is really continuing to amplify women's voices and representation in such spaces. And the reason why it matters is because when we are looking at whether it's trade, it's investment, um, it's building relationships, it's really a more holistic lens that we bring to it. It's because we bring that maternal lens, that caring, compassionate lens to make sure that whether we're negotiating something for the benefit of the country, I'm not looking at it just for myself. I'm looking at how does it impact the community? How does it impact the kids? How does it impact everyone? It's a very wholesome or holistic view that I bring to the role. And looking for long-term sustainable partnerships and initiatives that really uplift and empower and develop communities and individuals. So progressive development that is sustainable and meaningful. So I think a gendered approach and a gendered lens to this role, I hope over time will really empower a lot of women. And also just representation, right? Being at this level where you can have meaningful conversations with leaders of organizations, of countries, just really making sure that our voices are heard and that women can occupy these spaces, um, and bring their femininity to it. I don't need to change who I am. I don't need to be, I'm a leader first and foremost, and then I'm a femme leader. Um, I don't shy away from the fact that I am a woman. There's a lot of empowerment that comes with it, but I don't need to change my femininity to be in these spaces. I don't need to act like a man, so to speak. I fully embrace my capabilities and my intelligence and my brilliance in an analytical thinking to this work. So I'm hoping that that continues to empower other women who don't have to feel minimized or don't have to feel like they need to change uh, to be in these roles or have to be timid in any way. Because I think one of the things I've always been is also, I've never been afraid to speak to power, and I've never been intimidated by power or privilege. Or none of that stuff impresses me, quite honestly. You can be rich, you can be powerful. It doesn't matter to me. I think the goal is always, what are we here to accomplish? What is the focus of the conversation? And that's all that matters.
Wow, that's so incredible just listening to you and talking about having that focus and purpose because a lot of people get intimidated to say, oh, you're going to speak with that person. I'm like, what do I have to offer? I don't want to be in that room. And they actually have the resources and the knowledge and the know-how, but that intimidation actually kinds of grinds them and not getting them to be their very best. I love the fact that you say you don't have to be intimidated, but you make it sound so easy. It must have been a journey and all of that. Okay, now please, can you talk to us about challenges for women in leadership? What specific challenges have you faced as a woman in leadership, and how have these experiences shaped your advocacy for women's rights and empowerment?
Challenges are just a part of the work life. I think just even existing. So in a most practical way, of course. In terms of career, I think some of the challenges I've experienced is just when you're doing work that is complex and contentious, you're going to face pushback. You're going to face marginalization sometimes, And you're also going to deal with unscrupulous people, particularly when you're dealing in whether it's politics or whether it's trade, as I'm coming to learn. You will encounter all kinds of different people. How do you handle some of that with diplomacy? So what I've done is, it depends, because each challenge or each scenario is different, right? But there are fundamental principles that still guide your response to those situations that occur. So it's taking each, but then looking back at what my values are. How do I wish to engage in this situation? So somebody is not going to make me act out of character. Somebody is not going to make me compromise my values. A challenge is not going to change who I am. I will always lean on my values. I will lean on spirituality. I will lean on the truth and honesty, and I will walk away from things that don't align with those principles. So I think because I know that nothing is that critical, but equally nothing can fundamentally allow me to change who I am as a person, or what doesn't sit well with my conscience or my values or principles. That is how I've approached every challenge. And again, like I said, I'm very spiritual. You have to get on your knees and pray. Nothing is too big that God cannot help you overcome, as long as you have faith and you really trust and believe that He's always there to guide you. So when it's too hard or too big for me, that's where I go to prayer. And then I also seek wisdom from others. Even I think our last interaction, I will always go back to people who are older, who might have experienced it, or even younger. Like I'll ask my kids, what do you think? It's always good to get different perspectives when you're faced with different scenarios. But personally, there haven't really been a lot of challenges that I have not been able to overcome or navigate. And sometimes you approach the person and say, let's have a conversation, or you think about whatever that issue is in lots of different ways. And you have to have the courage to walk away or let go when you've realized that maybe this is just something that there's no way around it, I cannot resolve it, or maybe there's a whole different path, or we need to get back to the drawing board. So I've always also had that courage. So it's really leaning on those things to resolve any challenge that will come my way. And a lot of times, work or situations that are also out of my control, because even with my current role, I can do the best that I can that's within my power, but I'm operating within a government, I'm operating within a society that I'm not always the most versed, and there's so many aspects to it, right? So I can do the best I can, but I can't always control the outcome. I can have the best negotiation for a deal, for a trade agreement, but how that ends up coming to fruition in a different country is different. How it might end up being an outcome in Sierra Leone, how it impacts all individuals is sometimes to a large extent out of my control. Or vice versa, I can have the best partnership conversations here in Canada, have the best MOUs with the best intentions, and I can't control the time frames sometimes that things will take because it's out of my hands. So it's also having that honest conversation at the onset and being very transparent in these processes, because I'll say 50% is in my control, or probably 30% is in my control, and the other 70 has to do with a lot of factors that are out of my control. But what you can always count on is my commitment and my dedication and diligence to make sure that I do the best I can to align intent and impact and all these other factors.
Wow, that is so huge. I love the part about anticipating challenges and knowing what is within your control. A lot of times I remind myself of the serenity prayer. God,
Yes.
know, may I know the things that
I
I
love
want.
it. I have it. I actually have it on a cross. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot control. It is powerful. And
Yes.
honestly, that is the best. It was a gift given to me by my cousin years ago. To this day, I have it. It broke and chipped. I put it back together. It is my go-to.
Yes, again, like as you're speaking right now, and even to the audience and everyone who's going to listen to this, and also to myself, you just gave me that knowing in my heart that we all really know what to do, but sometimes we lack the courage to take the step to achieving our dreams. And some of us will meet challenges and back off. Again, just understand what she has said. There are things that would not always be within your control. The ones you can control, accept it. And I love the way you talk about the challenges. Know when to walk away. Know when to say, you know what, I have given my absolute best. There's this thing I do with my kids that I ask them at the end of the day, did you give your absolute best today? I think it's the same thing with approach to challenges. When you face the challenges, like you've so explained. In fact, as I'm speaking to you in my heart, I'm like, why didn't I meet this? Why did I meet this bundle of wonder years ago when I had some challenging things that I needed to do and I didn't know what to do? I just gave up. But if I'd
Yeah.
had this information to say there's nothing wrong with being first, because even for me, I've not really achieved so much. I'm doing the little I can in my little corner. But there are
Doing
things
the
I
work.
wanted to do, like other people also, I'm sure have the same kind of testament or testimonies of things you wanted to do. But because you face some kind of roadblock, you just threw in the towel out to say, you know what, no one has ever done it before. Why would you do it? So that's one of the things I wish I'd met you if I'd met you, there's some things that I would have done. You have a legacy of pioneering various roles. I'm going to connect that to what I was just saying. You have a legacy of pioneering various roles. You have a legacy of first. How important is it for women to embrace their unique paths and create their legacies in today's world? I just give you an example of my very self. People beat me down to it and says, why you're always thinking in the cloud? Come back and stay in reality. And I
Reality.
also want you to also connect that with mentorship and support. And tell us
Yeah.
about the legacies of first. How important is it for women to embrace their unique parts and create their legacies in today's world?
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's really a pertinent question because I think when you do everything you do with intention, you're really creating a legacy through that. Whether whatever it is you're doing, do it with intention and commit to doing it well. By doing that, you're definitely, if not anything, you're setting an example or at least giving a path for someone to emulate. I think that's what has ended up just culminating into these legacies of first in terms of the roles I've occupied. Again, like I said, going into it boldly and courageously and not doubting
Mm,
my capabilities, but doing it with a keen focus on wanting to do it well so that it will sustain, it will continue. And knowing that it doesn't matter whether I'm there or not, my legacy will speak for itself. When if they say memory did this, you can see that, okay, she did the best she could and did it well. That's really what legacy comes down to. And then because we never really know, we're not assured how long we are here. Our time and every moment here needs to be very intentional in how we occupy spaces, how we interact with others, how we engage. Um, so I think whenever I'm doing anything, and even now as I'm talking to you, I always think about, okay, what is it that I want to do so that I'm remember that I did something positive. Even when I have that conversation even with my kids all the time that God forbid I'm not here. I want to be assured that you will be fine, that I've instilled values in you, that you will carry on, that you'll be okay. And so being very intentional in that helps. And I think that's the same you can bring to mentorship, having that sense of responsibility to advocate for others, but to uplift others. Whether it's through coaching conversations, through mentorship conversations, it's making sure that you're doing things so that other people can have it easier, other people can have opportunities to grow. So when I've worked in organizations constantly advocating for inclusion or ensuring that underrepresented groups or marginalized groups are giving an opportunity to have the same resources and supports to achieve their potential, it's because the goal is that life gets better for others, or at least if it isn't, if your situations, so your point, when you face challenges, you have the resources or supports or information and awareness to do things differently, so we don't keep making the same mistakes and being in the same cycle. So even in my role, I always think about what can I do to make lives better in Sierra Leone through this role? How can I build better relationships between Sierra Leone and Canada? How can I also bring a lot of value to Canada as a country so that it understands the value that Africa possesses and what these partnerships can mean for Canada and for Canadians? Because we always think that, oh, we want to help over there, but by us being here and contributing and building these relationships, there's a lot that Canada can also gain from these relationships, in any country, which is why it was important for my role to be international relations, because it doesn't have to just be a dichotomy between Sierra Leone and Canada, but it's anywhere I go. There's opportunities anywhere. So when I'm in those spaces, how do I connect the dots to say, okay, maybe through this engagement or interaction, there could be a value add in these interactions. So that's really how you empower, that's how you mentor, and that's how you create a legacy, because you work and engage meaningfully, with intention, with integrity, and with purpose.
Wow, that is so beautiful. I love the keen, I love when you said the keen focus of doing well, then knowing that you have a keen sense of responsibility. So doing things that others will make it easier for others to do. Isn't that amazing just listening to you? I hope you have a mentoring group where we can come and seek support once in a while and ask questions and say, how can we go from here to there, right? Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
that was such a great insight that you just shared. Now, in light of the International Women's Day, how can women actually worldwide support each other in their struggles and triumphs, particularly in global challenges? How do we leave the small things and really begin to focus on the better and the greater things?
I think it's through collective proactivism and solidarity. We have to we have to see each other. And when I say see each other in all that we share in our commonalities, and not be bogged down by our differences to say, okay, I'm from this part or that part, or I'm in this social circles versus that. We really have to see as woman to woman. And an extension of that, we are there. I always like to go back to Mother Nature, where the Mother Nature, we're the caregivers of our children. We are the caregivers even to nurture the land. And, when you take it out of the realm of power, it comes back to us. We talk about Mother Earth. So when I really look at our obligation as women, we need to see each other. And by seeing each other, we now can take away the differences that we share and look at our collective struggle. Where are we today as women, all women? Because if you look at it, yes, of course, some women are going to be wealthier than others, in different circles than others, more marginalized than others. So if we look within our bubbles, we will have a very skewed lens. But if we look beyond our bubble and see that, okay, women across the world are still experiencing challenges. They're still experiencing inequity. They're experiencing all kinds of traumas and harms and are vulnerable and at risk. And by extension, it goes to our kids. And even for those, and that's why I like what Tracy Ellis Ross said once, like, just because somebody is not a mother does not mean they don't have a responsibility to care, and that they haven't been doing it for years. They're doing it. Being a parent or a mother does not define your womanhood. And I think when we look at womanhood in what it means, whether physically, and then you look beyond gender, when there are those who self-identify, again, because the preference to self-identify as gender is, again, one's personal preference, and they have that right to do that irrespective of what society says and religion, which is a whole other conversation. But what I'm trying to say is when we look at womanhood, I think sisterhood, I think solidarity, I think obligation, compassion, empathy. When we bring those values and that sense of obligation, then we really begin to say, how do we support one another? How can we have an amplified voice to really bring visibility to the challenges that women still face, to then be able to be a source of support and network and community for other marginalized women so they can achieve their potential? And how can we look beyond our own privileges to be able to make sure that other women have similar privileges, that other women who are vulnerable are not at risk? How can we be that shelter for each other? So part of what I've tried to do and continue to do is just, how can I help others? How can I be that source of inspiration, that source of support? And we need to really not continue to allow this, because when we see that and do that, then we don't allow this divide and conquer, because then there are times when there's so much division. When you've seen, if another woman goes up, they shut the door, or they don't really think about leaving the door open so others can come into these spaces. If we're doing that more intentionally, then you'll see more women in positions of leadership. You'll see more women being empowered because others are picking each other up and amplifying and recognizing. So even what you're doing, creating this platform, that's your way of opening the door, because you're bringing visibility and spotlight to all of us that your audience wouldn't know otherwise or might not know, right? So if each of us begins to really intentionally do our part to amplify the voices, the struggles, and the achievements of other women and each other, irrespective of our racial background or socioeconomic backgrounds, our gender, our sexual orientation or identities, then we're really making a positive impact and a lasting impact for women's empowerment. Because it's funny, I was reflecting on the Accelerate Action theme, and every year we have these themes and we have these great aspirations for how far we're going to advance gender equity, and then we're still almost 10 steps back when you think about what's happening in the world now. So it's really re-strategizing as a collective.
Wow, you've spoken so much. I just wish I could just allow you keep talking and keep saying these words, the collective proactivity, the solidarity, leaving the door open so others can find an opportunity to go in, and actually just holding another woman's hand and telling her this is the way you can go, and not, and for me, giving visibility to what other people do and also demystifying it. A lot of people talking to you, I feel, wow, I'm so in awe of this woman and all of that. But you are giving opportunity to be heard. You're giving opportunity for others to learn. Because we can't know these things if those who have gone ahead of us don't tell us. How do we know these things? How do we know it is possible? You just made me realize that, Erica, you can actually be first in what you do. No one ever says you can't be a trailblazer. And you've
Exactly.
explained it. One of the things that I wasn't told growing up was to anticipate challenges. I was always told that failure was bad. When you fail, you are not a good person. As soon as you
Mm.
fail, it means that was not for you. And
Yes,
you talked about your support system. When you fail, it simply means, I just recently realized that failure simply means that you've not found a way to do the thing correctly. And for
exactly.
me, failure is just a learning process. It's part of
Exactly.
learning. Did a child start walking the first day they tried to? A child who's
No.
giving birth, right?
No.
And you will see them, they will crawl and crawl. Sometimes they crawl for months. And it just
Yeah,
dawned on me that some people are fast in getting accomplishment done.
yeah,
Others might take time. Others will
exactly.
take time. I had a child who worked when she was 9 months. I had one who worked after it was 1 year. So all of us have different paces. And that's why you talk about
Exactly.
the commonality. If we can only realize that it's not a struggle between us, we are in a safe
Exactly.
space. We can all work at our pace and accomplish. If
Yeah,
only we have that sense and wisdom to understand it's okay to be where you are. But if I'm up there, I can
exactly.
help you and say, come up here. I can show you
Yeah,
how it is. And not getting the ladder up there and throwing the ladder away and say, well, I am here. Go and find
exactly.
you. Go and look for somewhere else to accomplish. Forget it.
Exactly.
That the cloud is
Exactly.
so big and there's enough space for everyone.
And there's strength in that. There's strength in the more of us that are empowered. It's just such a beautiful thing because now there's less burden on the few. So wouldn't it just make logical sense that we continue to uplift and empower so that more women are in these spaces? Because it's almost like when you visit somewhere and you know somebody, it's just a better experience and you have like friends in different places. Or you know that, okay, I can pick the phone and call, or I can go visit someone. Even like when you want to do something, when there's more of you that can afford to do it, it's much much better. If let's say we need to come up with 1,000 and there's 10 of us that can come up with $100, we just collected 1,000 by one email to 10 of your friends, versus when only one person can afford even 100 and the others can afford 5, 10, 15. When are you going to collect that 100? I mean that 1,000. So there is just strength in numbers. There is power in empowerment. It just makes sense. It makes logical sense. And it always is funny when people are so selfish, because when you're the only one, it's even much too much of a burden. Why would you want to be the only one, the wealthiest, the most powerful? Like, no, it puts too much burden on you, too much pressure on you, and then you now have this small caged circle because you're afraid. Whereas let more people be empowered. So I think that's really the principle that we need to begin to operate with, and then understand that success is relative. What do we really define as success and failure? Because you might fail at something because that is really not what you're meant to be doing. So, for example, I look at myself and say, am I the greatest when it comes to maybe real ruthless entrepreneurism? No, because that is really not my strength. I have to rely on people who have that expertise. There are people who are it comes natural to them. Whereas maybe my strength lies in what I'm doing, or being that visionary, or being that person that advocates for social justice, or someone else is very artistic and talented in that. So when you come out of where your natural strengths lie, those are the times that you might not find the most success, because you're first trying to navigate that space. So it's also knowing who you are, and then understanding, where do I apply my skills and talents? Where do I need to rely on others? Or where do I need to be a part of something? Because this is not really where my greatest strengths lie. So, and then you just doing that self-examination to say, if I feel self-fulfilled in this, if I feel like I've given my best to this, then that's all you need to really measure your success by, and not really based on what other people's definition of success is, because you're always going to be chasing that pedestal that somebody else has created. And I cannot try to aspire to somebody else's definition of success, because I need to create my own measure of success. And for me, my measure of success has always been self fulfillment. If I feel fulfilled, then I'm successful. If I feel I've given my best, then I feel good about what I've done. And it is not a race. Life is a journey that we're walking. We are walking that journey until our time is done. So it's difficult to say when I've arrived because I just have to keep going. But it's not to meet a particular yardstick, but it's really to walk with the energy that I have, the resources that I have, and the capabilities that I have. That's it. So that's why you can see the pendulum will always continue to shift if you're creating your own rules and your own goals, right? Because there are things that you want to achieve for yourself, for your family. That should really be the prism within which you measure your accomplishments. And then if others have done it, you can use that to guide you. And when you go that route, you might end up finding out that you even surpassed those things and you didn't even realize that you've done it because you were just really doing your best and walking your path towards your journey that you're on towards your own goals and aspirations.
Wow, I've learned so much today in this short time together, and I wish that this can just keep going so I can keep, you know, gathering this information and gathering this nugget and going out there to just sharing with other people. As we bring this section to a close, I just want you to speak to us and tell us what are your visions, not necessarily your visions, what can we or how can we? I think that's the right word. How can we, others who have this doubt in their hearts, people who have faced challenges and felt like they're not worth anything, because the reason and the purpose of this is to inspire, to spark hope again into the hearts of other women. How can we reignite that feeling of who we thought we were until we met our challenges? How can we start again from where we are so that we can begin to take that baby step to where we should be? Please speak to those set of people and encourage them to see how they can become the best version of themselves.
Um, it starts with self-love, flaws and all. We're all imperfect. None of us are perfect. You're gonna go through life meeting someone prettier than you, smarter than you, richer than you. So if you're not grounded in yourself and use that as your barometer as you go through this world, then it's gonna be challenging. So start with self. Start with self to think about what do I want to achieve for myself? How do I want to feel as I engage, whether I'm interacting with people, whether I'm doing my work? Do I want to feel a sense of accomplishment, a sense of contentment? It's very important to be content in yourself and your accomplishments. So for me, that's what I will say is a starting point. And once you've done that, then you start to set your own goals. You start to set your own vision and map out a strategy to achieve that. So always know that hope is not lost until you say it's over. The journey is not over until you give up. And for as long as you're alive and well, and here you have an obligation to yourself to not quit on yourself, because things will only stop working out when you give up on yourself to say I'm not able to. But as long as you're willing to keep going and asking God and those around you, your support networks, to be there, to be with you, support you, you will always find a way to pivot from what might be holding you back or where you need to be headed, because maybe you didn't think about it this way, but now you can pivot to another direction. And the courage to let go, but also to tap into your own strengths, right? So I will say, don't quit on yourself, and don't think you have all the answers. Reach out to those that, and that's why this platform is helpful, because you can learn from a wide range of individuals and you reach out to those. I've always availed myself. I think even you and I'm open about sharing my email or my telephone number, and I do my best. I know it's not always easy to be responsive immediately, but I do try to make space for people who want to talk. And through my consultancy, again, I do coach or mentor where I can. I know, and I try to keep it manageable so I'm able to continue to be there. But just be open, irrespective of whether I do it professionally or just personally. I want to be available, and I want to always share, and always want to talk and listen and give my own little nugget. So I will say, me personally, but I'm just one person, but me personally, I'll always do my best to be available, privately, professionally, in any capacity, to share a little bit of knowledge or experiences that I've had, because I've had a wide range of lived experiences, both professionally and personally. If you and I talk about the personal, that'll be a whole other conversation even. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. But it's to say, talk to others, don't give up on yourself. When you hear other people's story, then you'll understand that we all are really walking parallel paths. We're just in divergent spaces. I'm sure the more we talk or the more we get acquainted, you'll find out that we've probably shared similar experiences, just in different ways. So the more women really talk to others or reach out to one another, they will realize that we all are really facing similar challenges. We all want to do the best we can, or there are lived experiences that have influenced and impacted how we move in the world and how we continue to strive. But don't give up on yourself. Don't quit. Don't let other people tell you you cannot do it. Don't let others tell you you have such a big vision, stay in the clouds. You do need to aspire to the clouds, so then at least you fall in the skies. So it's okay to be a dreamer, be visionary, strive, but also be self-aware and mindful for your own well-being. Don't stretch yourself too much. You're not in competition with anybody. You are here to enjoy life, the little moments, the big moments. You're here to really have an impactful life, but a fulfilling life. Let's not put too much pressure on ourselves as well, because I think that's where we get lost in just trying to do so much or put so much pressure on ourselves. At the core of it, life is to be lived with delightful exuberance, and we're supposed to enjoy and cherish moments, big or small, but not to live beyond what our capabilities or capacities allow. I think that's really what I'll say in a nutshell, or a long-winded
I,
nutshell.
yes, that was so powerful. I loved everything you said about self-love. And that is so, I don't want to start repeating the things you said, but I would like to close with what you said about self-love. Love yourself. Don't beat yourself too much. Get up. You may have been beaten down but with life by life, but pick yourself up and get up. You are not in competition with anyone. I tell my kids, I say the only person you are in competition with is yourself of yesterday. Become a better version of yourself. And I would end with this. Whatever you do, women, whatever you do, we've been inspired today. Hope my heart is just bubbling and my head is sparkling with ideas and things that I've kept in the background. I say, you know what, Erica, you will go back and bring them up again and start all over again. It is okay to start all over again. It is okay to pick yourself up from the dirt. It is okay to stand up. And I'll just end with this quote that says, if you cannot fly, run. If you cannot run, walk. If you cannot walk, crawl. But whatever you do, keep moving. Keep moving.
Absolutely.
Keep moving.
Love
And I
it.
just and I just want to say to you, May Marie Duwai-Sowa, thank you so much. It is such a privilege and an honor to have had you just come and speak live to us. I have rediscovered some things I can go back to and I'll start doing them. And I want to say thank you to that. And to every other person, for me, if it's just one person's life that is changed, I feel accomplished because I just want people to know that you can do it. The Bible talks about the
Absolutely.
path of the just that is like a shining light that gets brighter and brighter. Don't dim your light. Let your light shine.
Yep.
Start from your home. You can start exactly where you are. Take those baby
Love that.
steps and keep moving towards your desired goal. it doesn't always, trust me, all of these things she's saying, she didn't have a clear picture when she started. All she did was take one step in front of her and one more step and more steps, and she began to fly. The same way, guys, let's begin to take those baby steps. Thank you once again for being a part of this. God
Thank
bless you.
you. Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate everything you're doing. May God bless you. Continue to make you excel in all the things that
Yes.
you're pursuing. And if there's any way I can be of support, if there's ever anything, please feel free to reach out. And you are also making a big impact for women,
Thank
and
you.
you're uplifting through this platform. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mom. Honored. All right, everyone, have a
All
great
right.
day. Thank you.
Okay. Take care.